This is Matt Russell, and welcome to the Daily FX Forum.
So here are the 5 pairs that I will be discussing this evening: the Euro Pound, the Aussie Kiwi, the Pound Swiss, the Euro Swiss, as well as the Euro Aussie. So let's go ahead and pull up the charts. The first chart is the Euro Pound. If you recall, during yesterday's report, I mentioned to take profits for the short trade for aggressive traders, entry at 90.15 and the exit at 89.10 for a profit of 105 pips. I also mentioned during yesterday's report possible long entry at 88.90 with a stop at 88.60. And if you put those orders in, you were triggered. However, prices, let me zoom in a little bit here. Prices did close beneath the longer term support line, which I was using as a reference point. So I've really lost a lot of confidence in this trade idea. However, the low was only, let me get the exact low, 88.65. So you should still be in this trade. But again, keep that stop at 88.60. But actually, any print below 88.65, I would negate the trade idea. So even if you want to move the stop up, let's say to 88.64, which is only 10 pips away right now, I've really lost a lot of confidence on this trade. But again, it's only a 30 pip loss. The next chart is the Aussie Kiwi, and as I mentioned during yesterday's report, an entry short at 25.45 with a stop near that 126 figure. Also here, you should have been triggered in terms of the entry here, so you should be short from 25.45. Moving forward now, I actually like the way this looks in terms of a head and shoulder pattern forming here. I would tighten up the risk a little bit, and what I would say is that, let's say you entered 2 lots, I might move down the stop to 125.75 on one of the lots, because if prices do get up to that level, I'd lose a lot of confidence in this trade idea and keep the remaining lot at 126. If you only have 1 lot, then keep the same trade, which would be entry short 125.45 with a stop at the 126 figure. The next chart is the Pound Swiss, and not much has really changed here. Again, I mentioned to exit the long trade, which was initiated down near the lower channel line here, 2 reports back. And again, I'm just trading the Euro Pound now, so I'm just going to stay on the sidelines with the Pound Swiss as prices are directly in the middle of the range between the upper resistance and lower support line here. So the next chart is the Euro Swiss, and if you were listening to yesterday's report, I mentioned to place a limit order near that 140, actually at the 148 figure. So if you did so, you were exited with about a 50 or 55 pip gain, depending exactly where you entered. And I like this trade idea again now on the long side. Again, right now prices 147.68. So I like the same trade here, but actually using the last candle as a reference point. We're not going to take a lot of risk on this trade at all. And the low of that candle is 147.55. So I like the long side here. Entry 147.68 with a stop at 147.50. So we're only risking 18 pips. Again, that would be long 147.68 with a stop at 147.50. The next chart is the Euro Aussie, and if you remember during yesterday's report, I was expecting prices to possibly bounce off that 61.8, and we could see prices blew right through that support level or potential support level. And I also mentioned that we're only going to take 35 pips of risk, which was an entry at 56.25 with a stop at 55.90. So if you entered there, you were stopped out with a small loss of 35 pips. Moving forward now, I actually like the potential here for a double bottom, and this low, the low of the first bottom is 55.15. So any print below 55.15 would negate this analysis, and this possibly could be a 1-2 or an A, or the bottom of the B wave here. This could be a bottom of a 2 or a bottom of a B. So I like an entry here, long 155.68 with a stop at 155.10. Again, that would be long 155.68 with a stop at 155.10. And my confidence in this trade is not very high, but if that level does hold, obviously there's a few hundred pips in gains, as I am expecting prices to eventually target the previous support line, which might now act as resistance just above that 159 figure. Again, my name is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for a preview of the Daily FX Forums. I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you all to the Daily FX Forums. I want to go through the process of how I personally access the forums and how maybe you at home, if you want to access the forums in the future, might do so. The first thing you would do is go to www.dailyfx.com, and that will bring up, obviously, dailyfx.com. And usually there on the upper right hand corner, I'll go ahead and click on where it says Forum, and that will bring up the first page of the forums. And this view, I personally don't use this view, but this view actually shows you the most recent posts on all the threads within the different sections, and a little detail about those posts, so you can read through and see if there's something catches your interest. But personally, I go ahead and just click on forums and view them in the more traditional sense. Now, these are different threads within the forum. There's a section on education, such as DailyFX course instructor tips, which would be good for newer traders, and then for more advanced traders. And I just want to go ahead, personally, the way I use the forums is I would go through the individual threads, just looking for trade ideas, maybe looking at charts, looking at certain lines that maybe I didn't put up on my chart, but another trader might have put up on their chart. I tend to shy away from using direct trade recommendations from other forum members, but it helps me to sort of even out my analysis, make sure that I'm seeing things with the right mind, in terms of I might be missing stuff that other traders can see. And that's my personal way of using the forum. Every trader is going to be a little bit different in how they use it. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to become an active participant of the members, you would have to go ahead and register. So that's what I'm going to go through now, is the registration process. So assuming you're brand new to the forums, or maybe you've been here a few times and you're not really sure how it works, so I just want to walk through again the registration process. This would be the front page where you would access, or the previous page. You'd have the same little box here on the left hand side. My username and password are already filled out here, but assuming you're a new member, you would click on where it says register, and that will bring up the registration page. If you give me one moment here while my browser loads. And actually first we're going to have some terms of service and DailyFX forum rules. I do suggest reading through the forum rules. Obviously, profanity and spam and things like that are not allowed, but it also gives you insight on how to use the forum and how different traders can use it in terms of their individual needs. So you would go down to the bottom there, you'd click on where it says I have read all the rules, and then you would go ahead to the register the formal registration page, and that will bring up here. And you can go ahead and select the username, and how about we'll use 4x, and that name is already in use, so maybe add a few more x's there. Again, it really, your individual username is up to you, and you go ahead and fill in your password, your email address. Now, the most difficult aspect of registration for the DailyFX forums will be figuring out these letters in the box here. Now, I'm a semi-intelligent person, but I have a very difficult time figuring out which letters and numbers to use. Now, there is a reason for this madness. It helps with security, but I would suggest just going ahead and keep on clicking that refresh image until something comes through that you can actually identify and see. Then you can go ahead and enter your birthday, but you can decide whether or not to display that to other forum members. And then also, if you were referred by somebody, you can enter that information there. The time zone, that should default to your computer, but you should double check and make sure. And then you can opt in, and I would suggest opting in for these emails if the administrators want to go ahead and send you some notices about the forum, and then you would complete registration. Now what happens is they would send you an email to the email address that you put up here, and that email will include a link, and all you would have to do is go ahead and click on that link, and that link will bring you inside the forum, and you would now be a member of the DailyFX forums. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.